Grab your wine. It's time. Grab your wine. It's time for Rosé All Day and Julie's a Mess, where we talk about current events and living in an intersex life. And now, here's Julie.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rosé All Day. Julie's a Mess. Here I am being a mess. And my co-host, Rebecca Davis, is joining me. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. And as always, we're going to get the show started tonight. I'm not drinking rosé, by the way, tonight. It has been a rough week. I am drinking pineapple White Claw, courtesy of Craig.
And that's better than wine for you?
No, but it's look. It has been a
you need to up it.
Like it's just been a rough week. And I literally tonight was looking in the refrigerator and I was like, I don't have any wine. I store this week because of all the skin grafting and having my legs wrapped and tennis shoes not fitting over my feet and you know my bishop depression. So like I just couldn't get to the store. So I opened up the refrigerator and I was like, oh look, Pie Guy brought me a White Claw last week. Let me drink that. I'm not a big White Claw fan. Nothing against White Claw. Even saw this week on social media that they are now putting out White Claws that are just seltzer and don't have alcohol in it. And I thought, they're not great. Why would you drink them without alcohol?
That's just a LaCroix.
Right. That's just a LaCroix. Literally, White Claw without the alcohol is just a LaCroix. You heard it here first, guys.
But Julie, I'm enjoying this wine. I'll bring us back to the rosé. This is Côte de Rose.
I've had that before. It's so good.
Yeah, the whole French thing. And you know what I love about this is my friend was talking earlier about how we hate like electric corkscrews and things like that. And then my other friend was like, I just want screw chops, but it's always bad wine. Well, check this out. It's like a cork, but it's like glass with a little bit of like rubber. It's very elegant. It's a nice bottle.
I love that.
It's good wine.
You know, screw tops are becoming very popular in the wine community, especially because cork's not necessarily made out of cork anymore. And so many people talk about the cork falling in the wine bottle and how that's as Patricia says on Southern Charm, that's so déclassé. So, sorry, I've been watching Southern Charm all weekend, which we're going to talk about that too. Oh my God, Rebecca, there are 6 people watching us right now. We found out some things this week. We found out that we thought we were on Apple and Spotify. We haven't been in a long time because of a step button that we need to make sure we're taken care of. So you will start to hear us on Spotify and Apple once again this week. And we hope that everybody goes back and watches all the episodes that they've missed that haven't been on air on our YouTube channel, justjuleigh.com. Please follow us. Please hit the notification. Please go to justjuleigh.com and make sure you're following me so you will get notifications every week when this podcast goes live. Also, for those 6 that are joining us, you can talk to us in real time during the recording. All you have to do is sign up and go over to our live chat room, and you can talk to us in the live as we're doing our show. We love to hear from you. We like to hear your comments. We will share some of those comments within, as I shake my table, within the live tonight. So please feel free to move on over to the comment section and to join us in this discussion. We are going to get to our topic tonight, which is first date energy, in just a second. But you know, I backslid a little bit this week, Rebecca. I backslid a little bit.
Do I know about this backslide, or are you now admitting?
I think you know about it. First off, Kenneth Gelman is, hey, ladies. He just said, hey, ladies. So welcome, Kenneth. So I'm gonna switch this too because we like this better. Here we go. Okay.
We love our own faces.
Love our screen time. Okay, so here's my backslide. I, have not been able to move around a lot on my feet this week because of all the skin grafting on my legs from the motorcycle accident, which we talked about last week. And I've talked in detail about it on TikTok this week. So I've been watching a lot of TV. I've been online a lot, just kind of working on my book, working on different chapters. I shared with you the chapter called The Rook, which we all know that's about a certain somebody from my past. I was rereading that. Then I started to watch Southern Charm. Now, look, there is a guy on Southern Charm. I should download his picture right now just to show you guys what he looks like, because I think he is, we're going to do that. I'm going to look up his picture right now, and we're going to do an overlay real fast so I can show you all what he looks like.
He's very cute. He totally has that classic look I feel like you go for.
Well, that 100%. So when people ask what I like in a guy, this is I don't feel like I have tons of types, but I feel like this guy would be my type 100%. So we're going to do a quick overlay with him. Add overlay. And we're going to do downloads. And we're going to do all files.
It sounded like Santa just came into your room. I thought, did you not send him back to the North Pole?
That's our dog, Alligator. Okay, so why is it not working? Add overlay. It's not working. Okay. For the purposes of shits and giggles, you can all go look him up. He is on Southern Charm. He's on Southern Charm, and his name is Austin, Austen Kroll, Kroll. Austin Kroll. And I tried to upload his picture right now so y'all could all see it. If any of you are aware of that show, that's what he looks like, right? And so I'm going to try and do it.
He looks kind of like if you had a Southern Prince William or something, but more attractive, but like a hairy, he's almost got like a, I don't know, and then like very all-American, played baseball. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a very common type.
That's because it's okay. I see where it's not letting me do it. Let's try it again.
Julie clearly really likes the way this man looks because she is committed right now.
I'm committed. Here's the other thing. This is where I'm going with the story. Here he is.
There he is.
This is Austin Kroll, everybody that's watching. This is Austin Kroll. Now, Austin is in his 30s. We all know I'm a cougar. So I like that look. Very Southern, very preppy. Austin looks just like one of my exes that I absolutely fell in love with when I lived in Savannah. And anybody that knows my story and has followed me, I fell in love with this guy in Savannah. And everybody that knows my story about this particular guy, which for the purposes of the book I'm writing, we are calling The Rook, R-O-O-K. His nickname is that of a chess piece. Not to say his real name on here. Let's see what. And he's a bad boy. BH. Yeah, you know. And I like bad boys. He's cute. Yes, he is cute, Jamie. So Austin Kroll. looks just like the Rook in mannerisms, in the way he pushes his hair out of his face, in the way he talks to people, in his antics within Southern Charm. Everything about him is almost a mirror image to the Rook. To the extent, when I say I backslid, that in the past 2 days when I've been watching Southern Charm, every time Austin comes on the screen, I think about the Rook. And every time I think about the Rook, I break out in tears and sob. And went and got in the shower last night and sobbed. And I can't quit thinking about the Rook. And it doesn't matter what I do. It's now been 1 year. It's been 1 year. February will be 1 full year. Not since I've seen him. Well, actually, December was a year that we had not been dating. So I technically broke up with him 1.5 years ago. Thought I was over him. I saw him last February. We had adult fun time. And then I saw him in July. We had adult fun time. There were a lot of things about that relationship that were toxic on both ends. We both were toxic. And there's a relationship that Austin has on Southern Charm between Madison and himself that is also that same level of toxic. They can't quit each other. I mean, I watched it all weekend. They can't quit each other. And I have quit the Rook in the sense that we aren't living in the same town. I don't have access to him. He doesn't use social media. All I have is his address, multiple phone numbers, so I never know if he's watching or when. In a way, my relationship with the Rook is a lot like Christine Diane's relationship with Phantom of the Opera. Like, when they're together, they're hot and it's steamy and they can't keep their hands off of each other. And when they're not together, you don't know if he's hanging out in the rafters and killing people or if, or if he's pining away for it. I don't know. Right? So, but it's hard because I thought about it last night and I said, I'm gonna ask Rebecca about it. What happens when I let my walls down enough to let somebody in that treats me better and loves me more, and I'm still over here thinking about the Rook? And to be honest, that's honesty. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm always going to want to know, is he alive? Is he dead? Is he safe? Is he high on drugs? Is he drinking today? Does he have money? Does he have food? And these are not things that I necessarily should be worried about because we're not dating and we're not in a relationship anymore. But
well, that's what, and I'm just gonna just pause for a second and say about that. You just said I shouldn't be, which is very common wisdom, and I think it's bullshit. And you'll get on board with this. You shouldn't be thinking about him or worrying about him or whatever because you're no longer in a relationship. But relationships and defined boundaries are we just make those up. But you do think about people that you love that way or that you have loved. So there is no should. That's all I have to say about that right there.
Well, I mean, now I can't remember. I was going to play what you said last night about him. Also, that message is also about Bishop. Okay, so I just said his name. Okay, so we're going to play what you told me last night.
Okay.
David, speaking of unfortunate cocks, so for me.
No, wait, you guys stop. No. You guys can't listen to this message. No, stop. I'm going to talk really loud. Julie, turn it off.
No, we stopped. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh my God, that was not the message, but you did have something.
Y'all, if you want to know what was in that message,
just tell us. Just tell us.
I was roasting someone's cock.
Just tell us, though, what you said last night about.
Okay, so the second part of the message, and this is also about Bishop part, is that I saw his picture with her, and I was like, you guys look really happy, and he looks lovely. I have this thing where I look at people's eyes on a picture, and I'm like, that person's like terrible or whatever. But he has nice eyes. He seems like a good person. You know, I stand by the thing that you can also have toxic qualities. You can also be struggling. You can also do awful things. But he actually looks like an amazing person. So you're grieving an amazing person in the same way that you might grieve the death of a good friend, or it is a loss. It is a loss of something awesome. We don't have to think about all of the bad things anymore because you've already cleaned those out and you're already like, it's not a viable relationship. You can remind yourself of that. But what's important is that you allow your heart to be heard, and your heart is grieving. And if you just tell it, oh, positives, negatives, this is what, it doesn't listen to that logic. That's not the logic of the heart. Your heart is hurting over somebody who is awesome, who you lost, who you love. And so if you just allow yourself to have that experience, it might quiet down a little bit and won't be demand to be heard as much, and you will be able to move through that process. The thing I asked you at the end was, is Bishop, Rook, King, Queen taking up the best seat in the house? Is he taking up the comfiest space on the couch and the best blankets in the room still? Is he taking up the place in your heart of like the awesome stuff? Because we've cleared out the bad stuff and you've made a space for new bad stuff to come in. But is he still sitting on that couch? And do you need to ask him to just sit in the armchair next to you, maybe? And but you will have to leave a little bit of space where there's no one on the couch in order to make room for someone to come in. And if you're not ready to do that, let him sit on the couch. And we'll keep on with your profiles and keep on going, and your heart will heal in its own time.
I think what's sad for me is I don't think I'm ever gonna not stop loving him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really loved him. I really loved him. I literally would have given up everything in my life, all the contents. I would have given up everything for him. And I get mad at myself that I'm not over him. And I get mad at myself sometimes that I don't let myself move on. And and just like so many other women in relationships, I have FOMO. I have fear that I'm missing out on something. I just said it today. We're crazy. Women, we overanalyze everything in our mind and in our heart. And I mean, we think about everything. Everything, and it drives us nuts. I don't think he probably thinks about us this much or me this much. And here I am giving him a place in my book. But I mean, the situation really did affect me, and it taught me a lot about myself. But at the same time, I meet all these other, like, look, I'm not gonna lie. We just showed Austin Crawl. This is 100% my type, and they look very similar and act very similar. I mean, people could see Austin and I in public and be like, "Oh, she's back with that Rook kid." Like, they look very similar. And even if you aged Austin by about 15 years, he would look like Pie Guy, who I'm seeing right now. And Pie Guy and Rook have a lot of the same characteristics, if not doing the same things. And I'm like, it's just the Rook 2.0 10 years later. And so that's frustrating on some level, because I'm like, I obviously like what I like.
Well, let's look at that for a second with Pie Guy, who we actually have on the table. I can make a pun, but I won't. Is Pie Guy, you have some reservations about him. We don't need to go into detail. We have reservations about everyone. But could he replace Rook, and Rook is just taking up space on the couch? Or is it also that you're thinking critically and you're like, well, part of the reason that this person reminds me of this person I was in love with is because they have some of the same darknesses as well. And those darknesses can somehow, it's almost like a muscle memory, like Maslow's dog or cat or whatever, or whoever it was, where it's like, oh, I remember that sensation and I associate it with this person I love. And sometimes we're like, well, but it wasn't the darkness that I liked. So there's various things, but you know, we don't want to repeat the past mistakes. But I guess I just want to throw out there the question of, could he actually be the better version?
I mean, yes. Yeah, more established. It's hard because it's hard. Stevie wants to know, how long did you date him? Off and on, I dated the Rook for about 3 years, off and on. But people that know that story, he would go missing for months on end, but it wasn't necessarily he went missing on choice. It was more of a judicial law thing. Judicial law issue. And he would go missing for 3 months and then he would appear. I found all that out towards the end, and he wasn't necessarily secretive about it. He'd let things slip and I'd be like, oh, that's where you were for the last 3 months. That's why you didn't get to go to my brother's wedding with me. But then when you think about it, I go, oh, I'm glad you didn't get to go with me to my brother's wedding, even though 100% I would have wanted to share that moment with you. 100%. You wouldn't have been there for me, and you wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have been there for me. And Stevie said it's going to take at least 1.5 years to get over him. Right. I understand that. But that year and a half,
half the time. It's so true.
But it's taken 1.5 years. And I'm still, that's what we were saying.
He says at least, Stevie, I'm so sorry if I misgender you. It's going to take at least 1.5 years. So, you got time still. It takes as long as it takes. And what I would say is it takes longer when you're repressing the feelings and you're trying to tell yourself you can't love him and you can't, and he wasn't a great person. Your heart's like, absolutely not. And it just rides and rides and rides until it's hurt.
I mean, I literally last night was bargaining with God and I was like, if something's happened to him and he died, allow him to come visit me in my dreams. And then normally I don't have a problem remembering my dreams. And this morning I couldn't remember any of my dreams. And I was like, crap. I literally can't get the answer I need. I was searching obits last night trying to figure out if he died. He's been on my mind so much this last week that I literally, and when I share it with friends, I have a really good friend also in Savannah where Rebecca lives, and he was like, just rip that picture up, just burn it and rip it up. And I was like, I can't. That's not who I am as a person. I still have pictures from people that treated me like shit in high school. I just can't get rid of them. It's not that I don't. I love him. And little things, when I look back on the relationship, things that irritated me during the relationship, things that 100% irritated me during the relationship, I now look back on that relationship and realize he was trying to protect me. He didn't let me go because he was trying to protect me. He didn't put.
But also, those things didn't work for you. At the same time, all things are true.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. I look back at these things and I go, "Oh, he didn't want me in the car because it protected me, and he didn't want me to necessarily have to pay for his crimes, whether they be a passion or." Whatever they were. It wasn't that he didn't want to be with me. He actually said to me once, he was like, I can't believe that you think that I don't want to spend time with you. He's like, when I'm not working and when I'm not home, where am I? And I'm like, here. And he was like, right. And he was like, we may not be going out and doing anything, because he didn't have money or I didn't feel like paying for something, but he was still choosing to spend time with me. Look, nobody's ever going to understand our relationship. And when we broke up, I am like every other girl. I sit in a circle and I bitch and moan about all the bad things that happened in the relationship. I don't share the good things, or I didn't share the good things. And then people literally go, "Oh, he's a pile of shit," right? And then when you say, "Oh, I want to go back to him," they're like, "Why? He was a pile of shit. He treated you like shit." And you're like, "Well, not all," but you can't go back and say, "Well, not all the times. You weren't with me when you really loved me." It's just breaking up, and breakups are just ugh.
Well, it's hard because you often go through this phase. So I've had the Rook is a combination of two breakups. One was a guy that I would say was a lamb, and one was like an absolute wolf. But they both, I grieve them in different ways. But initially, I think a lot of times in a breakup, you need the phase where you turn them into a monster, especially if they had some on paper unbeatable bad qualities. And then I think a lot of times women especially are shamed when feelings of love and attachment to the other things naturally pop up, because that's how human beings work, and that's how the heart works. And that was what was part of the relationship too. That's why you were in the relationship. You don't stay in a relationship if there's nothing good there. So point is, we then get shamed when those feelings start coming in, and we sometimes keep them to ourselves, or we talk about it incessantly so that we can somehow prove to someone that we have a right to love them. And I just will tell you over and over again, you have a right to love him. You have a right to love everything. You have a right to see that he was doing something bad and also trying to protect you from it, and also wasn't present, and all of those things. And I think we often shame each other as women into like, well, you don't have enough self-respect. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not with him anymore. So let's just, we dealt with that. Let's just move on past that. Why do we have to shame me for anything? Just let's help me move on then. And you telling me I can't feel what I feel and it wasn't great or whatever, it's the truth inside of me will reject you. And now it's going to stay in the room until it's resolved.
Yeah, that's true. And then everything triggers, right? So Austin Kroll triggers. So if anybody ever did want to know what the Rook looks like, he does look like Austin Kroll on Southern Charm. That's what we've been talking about in the first part of the show. I'm going to go ahead and read some of the other comments that came in, and then we're going to move on to first date energy, which is what tonight's show is about. But some of the comments that have come in recently is, you can't really put a time limit on the heart. Everyone's different. And that came from Janie McCoy. That is very true. We agree with that. Stevie said, I had a relationship where this guy consumed me day and night. I realized he was really not good for me. I broke it off. He still consumed me. So I hired a therapist just to get over him.
Okay, thanks, Stevie. We love a fellow woman. We love all people. But yeah, and look, Stevie hired a therapist just to get over him. That's huge. And it was hard. And it was still hard.
BH, I just went back to he's a bad boy. I think what was really hard, I don't think he was necessarily bad. I think what people don't know, just going back to, you know what I share, right? So people on TikTok, when I broke up, are like, oh God, he's miserable. And I'm like, you know what I share? I shared some good things with him on TikTok. He's not public. He didn't like social media. There were not, I don't think inherently he was a bad person. I think he has had some really shitty things happen to him in his lifetime, in his young lifetime. I think he had some really emotional, shitty stuff happen to him. And we all do. We all go through that. I literally could talk to him and sit with him and see the pain in his eyes and feel it. I could feel it. And I've always kind of had that empath quality, but there were moments, and he reminded me a lot of my grandfather in how quiet he was, and at the time you're like, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't we, woo, woo, and living it up. And when I think back on the relationship now, some of my favorite moments with him were when we were just quiet. Like he would go in that house I lived in off of Henry Street. He would always go down to smoke. He smoked. And he would say, hey, you want to come have a cigarette with me? And I'm like, no, I don't want to go sit on the porch. There's no fun in that. It's a gross porch. Ew. Like sometimes I would go down, right? But when I would go down with him and we would just sit there, and I didn't like the smoke in my hair. I didn't like getting it on my clothes and stuff like that. But there were moments when he would be smoking and I would be sitting next to him and he would reach down and hold my hand. Or he,
You know what? I will
my leg. Right.
I will interrupt
Go ahead.
to say that is a perfect snapshot metaphor. You were saying, I didn't like the smoke in my hair. I didn't like the smoke around me. I went downstairs with him for his smoke break, and we had a meaningful moment, and he held my hand and he put my hand on it. That is what it was. And at some point you had to choose you, and you had to take yourself out of the metaphorical smoke and get out of that place that he was in, which no hate to smokers, this is purely a metaphor. But get out of the place that he was in that you didn't actually really want to be in. And
we also talk about all the time on the show, the balcony and the basement. And that's another metaphor, right? That I like to stay in the balcony, and his actions were pulling me down into his basement. Mm-hmm. Not to say that he is basement people, because I don't feel that way about him necessarily, mm-hmm. but it was keeping me in a place where I didn't need to be. So, I mean, I see the metaphors. We talk about that all the time. Okay. Moving on from the Rook and my backflip this past weekend, and of course, all things Southern Charm, because I'm going to continue to watch Austin Kroll because he is my celebrity crush. We are moving on, and we are going to talk about this week's episode. It is 7:32, so we're going to spend about 10 minutes on the topic this week, if not a little bit longer, hoping to get some feedback from the people that are joining us in the chat. And then we will roll into Rebecca's picks for me this week. Now, however, next week, please join us if you're not already in here and you haven't heard about it. My good friend Manny, who's one of my closest friends, will be on the show next week. That's the game plan anyway. And he will be talking to Rebecca. They will be talking about me. Rebecca's going to ask him questions about really kind of me, and we're going to try and kind of break the nut open and figure out why I'm not being so successful in dating and love. I think Manny will be able to give a really good insight into how he feels. Rebecca knows me as well. And then Rebecca's going to share her picks for the week with Manny directly, and Manny is going to get to say yes or no to Rebecca's picks about who I go out with. So this will be, Julie is totally blind next week, and she won't even really get a say. And we just have to hope that people know me well enough to, woo, that's going to be fun.
It's a real deal. It's an expose.
An expose. So this week, though, let's go ahead and get into this week's topic, which is first date energy. This topic is first date energy.
Santa's back.
No, I might have to go downstairs. I think that, did y'all get in okay?
We have so many.
I hear them. Are y'all in okay? Okay. So I think the doors would lock. We have so much going on. Okay, so first date energy. First date energy. We were talking about first date energy, and we were talking about that last week, and we were saying that so many times guys plan these great first dates, or girls, right? They plan these great first dates, and you come down from that, you come off of that energy, and your next date is maybe not so great. So what was your thought on that last week when we were talking about first date energy?
Yeah, I mean, so I had a friend who had an experience where she had all this buildup with somebody, and then they had this great weekend together, and he had moved mountains to make it to happen, and all of this stuff. And in reality, their stories kind of pan out, maybe not to be the perfect example, but it reminded me of, so afterwards, she ended up getting slow faded. It wasn't great. They sort of like dissipated. But a lot of times, even when you continue to date that person, basically she was like, oh, he didn't change his plans this time. Now he's got to juggle all this other stuff. And what happens is a lot of times, and Julie thinks it's a little sketchy, so I want to know what people's opinion is. But a lot of time, classically men, but everybody, a lot of people will put in so much time and energy talking to you, excited about you. You've got this like lead up to the climax of that meeting, and that special connection has happening. And then you meet and you're like, oh, he has weird teeth. He's thinking, she talks, her voice is different than I expected. You are like, well, I still kind of want to go out with this person, but then you're like, and then, or maybe you're like, well, we really, really like each other. Now we're going to hit the ground running in real life. And we are going to have to make sure we go to work actually, and don't cancel our schedule. And then you're going to see each other a week and a half from now and not tomorrow. And a lot of times, like, then you get into dating energy, and it's just this awkward transition where this like magical moment of this huge climax of the first date, it can sometimes be a bumpy ride into like, oh my God, does he not even like me anymore? And then you can like get up in your head and manifest an ending that doesn't need to happen, or maybe he is actually being an asshole. But it's like this very jarring moment of like the end of the first date energy. But you think first date energy is kind of sketchy to begin with, like love bombing.
Yeah, I hate that. Because I've come across so many guys, especially in this show, Optimistic in Orlando, but also in just online dating, that are like, oh, I'm going to take you out on an amazing date. What do you like to go do? Where do you like to go eat? Right. And I always volley back in the conversation with things like, it doesn't really matter what we go do as long as you're not taking me on like a 4-hour hike of Mount Kilimanjaro, because, I'll pass out midway up the peak and roll down to my death. But like, it doesn't matter the episode. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's who you're doing it with. Mm-hmm. I also will always say with dating, whenever people ask, the whole purpose of dating is to get to know each other, right? So if a guy says to me, what do you want to go do on our first date? I'm always like, what do you want to go do? I like to take the pressure off. A good date is going to come from a place of no pressure and no bad energy and not being nervous and not having anxiety. And so I often will tell guys, I'm say, take me somewhere that you want to take me. Show me a part of you, right? There was a guy I went out with in Savannah, and because I moved, we didn't end up going out again. But, when you're single, or even when you have a group of friends, you kind of get into a rut of going to the same place all the time, right? You go to the same bar all the time, because that's where you feel comfortable, and that's where you met your core tribe at. So you just continue to go there all the time, right? And then like, it's like DoorDash, like you're hungry, you want something to eat. You're not really sure if you want to try somewhere new, and you don't want to wait 53 minutes for it to get to you. So you end up ordering Five Guys hamburgers every time, and you get the same thing every time because it's easy and that's what you're comfortable with. So this guy in Savannah took me out, and I said, take me where you want to take me. Take me to a bar that you like to go to. Take me somewhere that you want to share with me, because I'm trying to get to know you. He took me to the nicest little offbeat dive bar where you could get like, we literally went in and there was nobody there, but there were like a bunch of like pool tables and pinball machines in the back, like 2 or 3 pinball machines in the back. There was a smoking area out front. It was really cute. And then like with like picnics. And then we went in.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
There was a burger place inside off to the right where like this beatnik guy made like these crazy amazing hamburgers and stuffed them in tortilla shells. So you didn't have like a regular hamburger bun. They were like, it was almost like a Taco Bell Crunch Wrap Supreme, but you had like a lot of like food on the inside. And we literally got a hamburger, sat at the bar and had like a craft beer, went outside, set up the smoking area, went back across the street, had some of his marijuana vape, went back over and had the burger. Like it was the best date. And it took me to a place that I'd never been before and I never would have walked into on my own. That was a better date than somebody saying, I'm going to take you on the Orlando Eye and we're going to get champagne. And then I'm going to take you to get you sushi. And then we may stop at the Cheesecake Factory and have some cheesecake. And then I'm going to take you down. Like, so when you say I'm sketch about things, that's what I mean. Sometimes that energy is like, it's a letdown when they say all this stuff. And then you meet them and they're like, I left my wallet at home.
Oh yeah. That's so funny because there are so many different versions of it. It's funny. I think like, so I have pulled first date energy on someone before, on a girl actually. And I was like, oh, we're going to get like hot chocolate. We're going to watch a movie at my place. But then I also got wine. And then I was like, well, I need 2 types of wine. And I spent like all this, I got 3 types of hot chocolate. And then we went to the bar and it went to like, I picked this like fancy place and I like picked up the tab and I was like, you should do all these things. And then like, she was like kind of sick. And then like, I was kind of coughing too, and it didn't really go anywhere. And I was like, I spent like $150 on this night. And the next time we hung out, we like just got like, you know, beers at this small place and, you know, whatever. I think part of it is, I completely agree with you though. Like, I think there's 2 things. There's what you're talking about. And then part of it is just like, you're so excited. And I think especially people who like women, I think are sometimes just so excited. I just want you to have everything magical in the world. And then you're like, fuck, I never had this money to begin with. This was my grocery money. Like I can't take her out like this again. And you totally set yourself up like way too high. And like, oh, I hope she likes me now.
I think, you know, and we can even talk. So Pie Guy, you know, on this show, we give everybody nicknames. So Pie Guy, and it's funny that we call him that because Rebecca and I, when I first started seeing Pie Guy, anyway, that's an inside thing for us. But Pie Guy recently, we went out and stopped. Pie Guy recently invited me out for a drink right before New Year's. I was running around looking for pantyhose, and he was like, will you meet me for a drink? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And so we went and met at this dive bar, and I was like, why'd you pick this bar? And he goes, because it's down the street from you. Don't you live right around the corner? And I went, yes, that was very kind. Thank you very much. And so we are sitting at the bar having drinks. Now I was not wearing this ring. Which is lovely and like 14 carats. I was not wearing this ring, but I was wearing a really nice sapphire ring that was about total weight, maybe 5 carats.
What shape?
Center stone.
Princess cut? Is that the Diane?
This is emerald cut. This is emerald cut. And the ring I was wearing was princess cut, so it was a square. I like cushion cut. It doesn't matter. Like I like all kind of cuts and facets, but I like big. And the reason I like big stones is because it makes my hands look a little daintier. That's an old trick, right? The bigger the stone. I mean, let's not lie. If I could have a ring that was this big, just so my hands would look like. Anyway, he was looking at the ring and he kept kind of turning it on my finger, and he goes, this is a really pretty ring. It looks so good on your finger. And I said, thank you. I thought that was sweet. And then he said, can you pull it off and put it on your other finger? And I said,
meaning your left ring finger.
I was like, my left ring finger? I was like, I'm afraid to do that. I've heard that's bad. I've heard that if you're not engaged and you're not getting married, it's a jinxie poo to put a ring on that finger. I was like, but you know, here I am at 48 and I'm not married. So if it's not happening this year. So I literally pulled the ring off and put it on the hand for him. And he was like, see, that looks nice. Don't you think that looks nice? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think it looks nice. But we are too early in our relationship for you to even be broaching the subject.
Yes.
So I kind of put a kibosh on it. Now, what's funny about it is you do go home thinking, oh, well, Here's what I was going to say about that. And it kind of ties back into the big date energy. I get mad at guys that think, and women that think they have to pull all the stops out on a first date to impress you. Because if that's not in your, where you just said you spent all your money from your paycheck on that first date, if that's not in your, if that's not a part of your life, right? Being able to spend that money on every date, and you say to a girl, you know, this is what we're doing, and it's a fantastical date, and you don't continue to see those kind of dates, then I don't want to say it's lying. You're not lying, but it's just kind of you
overextended yourself, and reality is coming. And
100%.
She's going to have one of two experiences. One is going to be like, you lame-o or asshole, you totally conned me. Or she's going to be like, oh, he doesn't like me as much because he doesn't spend money on me that way.
I mean, I've heard stories of women that have gone on their first date and the guy flies them to Paris for the weekend. So you're like, wait a second. If your next date is a trip to the local Dairy Queen, you're going to be a little pissed.
You know what? My friends and I call that first date that gets flown to Paris the red flag resort.
That is the red flag resort. Because unless we pull up to Dairy Queen and you lean over and go, I know the owners, can I get a small escargot? I'm going to be a little pissed. You know? I think most women, what? I'm a Dairy Queen? We went to Paris? We were at the Lazay La 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 last weekend.
I spent my retirement on Paris.
But literally, do you know what I mean? If your first date was the Julia Roberts moment where he presents the necklace and takes you to the opera in San Francisco, and your next date is not anywhere near that, that could be a make it or break it date. Like that could be, and that's not how it should be, right? Because not everybody can afford that. If you could afford that, okay. For those of you that are listening to this podcast, if you look like Austin Kroll from Southern Charm and you can afford Paris every weekend, whether we go or not, I'm single and my name's Julie Mayfield. but literally
keep it up after.
Yeah, and keep it up after. But literally, Pie Guy, he was looking at this is the thing though. So, and everybody's different. Pie Guy was looking at the ring on that finger and he said, you know, I bet you that ring is really expensive. He goes, it's beautiful. I bet you it's really expensive. Now, the Rook had said the same thing when I wore the same ring. So I thought, I have good taste. And I literally said to him, I said, you know, it's fake. It's not a real sapphire. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's real. It was lab created. It's not plastic. But the ring itself was under $200. And he was like, no way. And I was like, yes way. And then I told him that, you know, with jewelry, everything's marked up. So you could have a ring that only costs you really $80 to make, but then when it goes into a jewelry store, they mark it up 600 to 800%. So then that's what makes it a $3,000 or $4,000 ring, so they can make something off of it. But the ring may only be worth like $34. So he said, well, if we ever got to the point where I asked you to marry me, he was like, wouldn't you want a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 ring? And I said, no. One, you put a ring that expensive on my finger because society has told you that you need to spend 3 paychecks on your fiance. I'm going to freak the fuck out that I'm going to lose it during adult fun time or while we're playing putt-putt or when I'm at the beach. Like that scene from the Kardashian where Kim Kardashian lost her earring and she couldn't find it at the bottom of the, like, I freaked the fuck out. She did too. And then she told the guy she was dating, she was like, why'd you have to give me something so expensive? You know, she put the blame on him. I thought, well, you didn't have to wear it into the ocean. But I mean, you don't want to think about that stuff, right? You don't want to.
No, I break nice things.
And I said to Pie Guy, I was like, I don't need an $8,000 ring if I can get the look that I want and the colored stone that I want for under $200. I'd rather you buy me that. I don't need to go on an expensive trip somewhere and worry that they're going to cut my finger off to get to the ring because everybody's poor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that. And I'm like, it is not the ring and the price of the ring that matters. It's the intent that the ring was given. That matters. The intent behind it, that 100% matters. The fact that you listen to me about what I like to wear and my style, that matters. The price doesn't matter. And the reason I'm telling you this story is we tie it back into first date energy. Spending tons of money on me and making fireworks go off at the end of the night is not important for a date. I'm trying to get to know you as a person. And the you I want to know is the real you, not the fabricated first date big, what they call it, big dick energy. I don't need that kind of energy. I need to know the real you. I don't need a big fancy ring. This ring would suffice. This is a little too big. But
it looks good.
This is
from what color is that, Julie, for our audio only listeners?
This is a yellow sapphire.
Yeah, it's like a light amber color.
It's like a lemonade.
Yeah.
It's like a lemonade yellow diamond. So made by the same company. This is large. This is what they call like an estate cocktail ring. I love it. It's big. This is like, I think, 16 carats. That's huge. I don't need something that big for my engagement. It's made by the same company. My point is it's the intent behind the ring. Right? The fact that you like what you like. See, it's the intent behind the first date. And you're trying to everybody. I've often always told guys too, you share a part of you on that first date. And if we make it to the second date, I'll take you somewhere that I like to go. I'll share with you something I enjoy doing. We can go, one of my favorite dates in New York, when I lived in New York, I used to go on these dates all the time. And one of my favorite dates was during the week. I would always like to walk through Central Park and I would stop at one of the little bodegas on the corner of Central Park and I would pick up a loaf of French bread or baguette or whatever they had in the bodega. And I would pick up 2 or 3 cheeses, like small cheeses, right? Like small, like triangle cheeses. You don't need a lot. And then I grab, a water and I would go find a place in the park and, quoting Julia Roberts from Pretty Woman, I'd cop a squat and I would sit down and I would eat the bread and cheese and people watch. And it was always so much fun. And I thought, this is who I am. This is a huge part of who I am. So for dates, sometimes when it's my turn to date, I will spend a minimum of $40. I will go buy a great wine or 2, a white and a red at the grocery store at Publix. I will get some bread. I will get a couple of things of cheese and I will say, let's go find a park. It's a great afternoon date because you know what it does? You get to find out what kind of wines they like, if they like wines at all, right? Get to share bread and cheese. You get to break bread. You get to talk and people watch, which always leads to a plethora of other options to talk about. And you get to really sit there and ask questions about each other that you wouldn't necessarily get to do if you're on the Ferris wheel eating caviar and drinking champagne on your first date, big old date energy explosion. It's all about getting to know people, right?
Yeah.
You laugh that's my big date, that I don't love big date energy. I mean, everybody wants to have a great first date, but there's just so much to live up to if they are not able to continue that energy throughout the relationship.
And they almost never are, because you often remember your first date with people and no date is like that. And I think sometimes we can just get caught up on like, oh, we had such incredible chemistry and conversation that first night, and then the second night I noticed that they had a gap in their teeth, and I don't like gaps. And then and it's like, you can't, even if it's just energy between the two of you and the fireworks, it's not always going to be like that. And it's certainly not going to be like that in a marriage. And you really have to just try to have date energy at all times and enjoy that you're going to have the ups and the downs, but not this needing to impress, which is like sort of very sort of patriarchal and predatory, really. The idea that I have to lure her in and win her over. Steven wants Southern Charm too.
I know. So, you know, this cutie, Nina, Stevie, Stephanie, this is, I mean, honestly, if things don't go well in the next couple of months on Optimistic in Orlando, and if we can't find myself forever, I might become a stalker. I might move to Charleston, and I might just stalk Austin.
Okay, this is going in a direction I did not expect. I thought you were going to say you were going to try to get on Southern Charm, which I actually don't know anything about the show. I have mentally decided that it's a dating show between people in the South. And if it is, I want you on the show. That's what I'm going to say.
No, I mean, look, I should be on they did do a Southern Charm Savannah, Rebecca. They had like 2 seasons of a Southern Charm Savannah. It is about young, elite, kind of upper crust. I wouldn't even call the people on Southern Charm upper crust, but they came from upper crust families, old money. They've come from kind of old money. And it is kind of like an MTV Real World with these kids in it. And they're in their mid 30s to 40s. I think the oldest chef is like in his 40s. But it is a relationship-esque show. It's like every other reality show. It's about them. And they've all probably slept together at some point. Austin was caught a couple of seasons ago in a threesome. Which
he was caught in a threesome.
His girlfriend walked in. There were 2 other girls in the bed.
Okay, so now I'm knowing why we have this bad boy label on him.
Yeah, I mean, look,
fine.
I like men that are open. I don't necessarily want to share my future husband. Don't want to share him.
I wouldn't want to share someone and not know that I was sharing them.
Right. I mean, like, I need people that obviously I need men in my life that are open, right? We talked about that before. I think when we talk about, we're moving into your picks for me, but when we talk about dating, especially as an intersex woman, I always tell you, I have to be very upfront about what I bring to the table, because I need men that are not going to look at me and be like, I can't do that. I need men that kind of know my history and know what I bring to the table and go, oh, she's stunning, or I'm into that, or I'm into her, or I really want to explore that road, right? That's what I need. And so that's what we're kind of always looking for. And even in the dating apps that we use for this show, it is very like, you know, we go through it all the time, and we will get gutter swipes that just want me for sex. We will get individuals that don't know what intersex is, and then they need kind of a crash course or an education in it, which I'm glad to give. And then we have guys that totally surprise us and are like Pie Guy, that are like, I'm here for it. Let's see what happens, and treat me as I should be treated, which is as a woman, right? With feelings. So we are going into, I got to find that was Gutter Swipe of the Week a couple of weeks ago. I've got to find the image for Rebecca. Do I have it? Look, we didn't really have any gutter swipes this week, but this is our gutter swipe. We love it. That's the doll I own, Carlos.
Julie, I'm so ashamed of how much I like that back view and everything about it.
I'm not ashamed of it. This is lovely. I mean, look, Austin and Rook do not look like this. However, there was a guy I dated in Savannah. We will call him Mr. Mountain Range because he was named after a mountain range. He does look like this. But you talk about being a bad boy. He was 100% bad.
I dated somebody who was 80% this, and now they've reappeared, and they are not that anymore. However, I'm still very fond of them.
I was hoping that I could find Rebecca's. I used to have, well, we do.
That's all I've ever had. And only 80% of that.
We do have, yes. So.
Do you want me to share your pics?
Oh, that's your rosé. Here we go. Rebecca's picks for the week. Hey, we found it.
Okay. So we're starting with, I don't want to go there. He's going to be flat.
So as we're going into this, next week, my friend Manny is going to be sitting down with Rebecca, and they will be picking for me. Every week, if you are just tuning in with us for the first time, Rebecca goes through dating apps that I am currently on. She has helped me tweak my profile. And then as a friend, she goes through and she selects her picks for me for the week. She will share pictures with me and say, do you like this guy? And if I say, yeah, he's cute, without knowing anything about him, she will then initiate a conversation with him. If that conversation picks up, we then talk about meeting and going out. That is the premise of this show, trying to find me a healthy relationship without me fucking it up. So, we're not even going there. Sometimes I fuck them up. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes
Julie, you don't fuck it up. You're just yourself, and sometimes it's not a fit, and most of the time the other person's an asshole.
Okay. So let's see your picks.
So, also, I just want to caveat, as I do every week, these are the best I can do picks, because I certainly don't want Julie with everybody that's on this app. And very rarely do I really want her with anybody that's on this app. But we have to put ourselves out there.
We have seen some clowns.
Literally. Did you see the pirate? I sent you the pirate. Anyway, moving on.
I saw the pirate.
Yeah. So, okay. So this guy, I really like. This is my top pick for the week. Can
you share the apps you use? So Debbie Riley, real fast. For legal reasons, we can't call them what they are called. Mm-hmm. Right? So most of the ones that she is pulling from are from the Hive.
That's our nickname.
Think of our nickname for this particular app is the Hive. It has to do, we say the Hive because you can fall in and out of the hive. It is the queen bee's choice on who to talk to, but I can't say the name for legal reasons, so it is the Hive. We often will tell you, so we're telling you right now, these are from the Hive.
Yeah, and you have to match in order to talk, and the woman has to initiate. That's the trick of the Hive. So, okay, so he's wearing denim jacket. He's holding some kind of bottle of wine or something. He looks like he's like, I don't know. He's at some event. And it looks kind of fun. He's real cute. Got his hand in his pocket, holding a bottle of wine, but not in a sketchy way. He's 40. He says,
that's important. Could you imagine? He's holding a bottle of wine in a brown paper bag, and he's lingering outside of a 7-Eleven. What?
It looks like an event.
Not in a sketchy way.
It's not an event that's high class. It's not the red carpet, but it almost looks like it could either be like someone's birthday party or a New Year's Eve event or something. It's just, I want to go to whatever that is with him. Okay. Originally from Australia and moved here 12 years ago. Enjoy going to concerts, Broadway shows, and sporting events. I'm a huge country music fan, take it or leave it, and attend CMA Fest in Nashville every year and would be hoping to find someone to join me. I think you could pull it together for that.
I think I know what this is, so yes.
Okay, not looking for a pen pal, so let's grab some wine.
Yeah.
Love that.
I think I know what this is. He's rather tall. And,
yes, so I'm going to continue. For our listeners, yes, yeah. For our listeners, I'm going to continue.
Okay.
Drawing it out.
It is 8:03, so we will probably only do 2 picks this week, and then we will move on.
So he's 6'4", active, looking for a relationship. He loves concerts, pickleball, theater, country, and wine. Then we have various other photos. We've got some fun jackets, a tie that's very colorful, another bottle of wine, but not in an alcoholic way, or, we've got lots of great jackets. I love a good jacket. He totally has Australian fun boy, but actually nice guy vibes. So, may I please, since you know exactly who this is?
Yes, you may.
Swipe right. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. All right. Now, there is one guy on here who is picture only. I'm going to save him and see if I can go. Because if I'm only down to 2, man, I'm sweating here. Okay, this guy.
You can, I mean, you know how the Hive works. You can always save them for next week. If
All
you
right,
think
I'm gonna do one that's difficult. I'm gonna do one that's difficult just for fun.
okay.
Oh wait. Wasting time. Don't we love it? Everybody's just thrilled that I'm wasting their time. Okay.
Oh, that's what the guy said?
Whatever we have. No. I'm just self-deprecating right now. Thanks for being here. Okay, so this guy is 50. All right, he's a okay. Sorry in advance, sir. Hope this is not Julie's true love. But he looks like you might associate him with Basement, but we need to just push on through and see. So he is not a beauty queen, but he is not unattractive. He is 50. He's a business owner, security consultant. About me, Central Florida based, seeking a long-term romantic relationship. I thrive on meaningful connections and deep conversations. I value loyalty, commitment, and chemistry. If you're someone that appreciates the serious and playful experiences of life, let's kick this off and embark on a new adventure together. New adventures. Okay, he's 5'11", active, looking for a relationship. He's Christian and conservative. He's interested in gym, dogs, intelligence, sense of humor, and sense of adventure. We have him in a hoodie. We have a question from him. What's your secret to a great first date? We'll get along if you have a sense of humor and adventure. Tell me you're probably true conspiracy theory. That could be a flag. Maybe not. He's holding 2 dogs. There's another photo I want to talk to you offline about. And then, more love and more dogs. And then another photo of him inside. It looks like there's like a movie going on in the background. I don't know. Swipe right if you appreciate laughter, conversations, and creating memories. I am almost just like so curious about this person that I want.
You just want to see if it's going to end up, because I kind of feel like you think it might be a gutter swipe, but it might not.
I think it might be a basement swipe. But it's like a hidden basement swipe. Like I want the reveal of if it's real or not.
Okay. Look, this show is all about like, we're not, okay. So for everybody that's listening, for everybody that's listening, and everybody that's watching, this is not just about trying to find Julie a date. Look, we are doing the hard work for all of you at home too. So, I mean, I get sacrificed weekly to see if these are like authentic profiles and relationships. What I mean by sacrifice weekly is I don't mind being the sacrificial lamb, but sometimes we know it's not a fit for me, but it could give us a valuable lesson that we can come back and talk about the next week, which might help any of you. So for the purpose of that, and for having content on the table, swipe right.
Great.
I don't even have to look at them. Swipe right. I'll see them when I start the conversation.
You're going to hate me.
Why?
I don't know. I just can't
swipe right.
No, but yeah, I'm
gonna hate you because he looks like Mr. Wimple from Trying to Squeeze the Charmin. Like,
okay, and I'm gonna swipe right on someone that could be a gutter, but actually just looks really cute, but has absolutely no data on his profile. Like, there's
I hate that. I hate that.
He has nice eyes. He could be a gutter. We're going to do this for the team. You're taking one for the team.
I'm taking one for the team.
32-year-old.
Let me tell you, though, before we leave tonight, I don't like the profiles where people just put a picture. Like, the Hive is a great platform because it has you ask questions, and it enables you to ask questions. And if you are sitting there and you can't figure out an icebreaker, they make suggestions for you. I get really frustrated with Rebecca, and she knows, like, we use a lot of these icebreakers, and some of these men can't even figure out how to use the icebreakers, and it's not hard. So if I'm the guy on the profile and Rebecca sends me an icebreaker question, it literally will say, what's your favorite color? And then she puts her favorite color down as an answer. And then it says, when he answers, or when your intended answers, we'll reveal the answers, right? And so I do this all the time. So the way it should work is she puts down her favorite color, and then I put in my favorite color, and then it says answers revealed. And you open up the email and it says, Rebecca says, oh my God, my favorite color is black. And then it says, oh, my favorite color is seafoam green. And hopefully that will connect you to either ask another question or roll off of those answers. And you literally, I'll put an icebreaker question in there. One of the ones that we use a lot is, what is your favorite conspiracy theory that you think is true? And I often will put in JFK, because it's just, everybody knows that one, right? And guys literally will come back in, they won't answer the question, and then underneath the question they'll put, how's your weekend, Julie? It'd be great.
The privilege.
It would be great if you could fucking answer the question that I asked you.
The privilege.
They'll come in and they'll come in and they'll say, what's your bra size? And you're like, that has nothing to do about what your favorite comfort food is.
Yeah. Honestly, it's great when that happens, because you know immediately that they're going to be that man that only wants to talk about himself.
Right. Or they answer the question and you now know that your favorite comfort food is mac and cheese, and their favorite comfort food is not anything that you're in. Like, great. Why are you on this app? Why are you on this app, little boy?
It's happened.
Okay. So that is our show this week. We talked about my slip back into the world of chess and dealing with rook. We also talked about Austin Kroll on Southern Charm, just for the purposes of this podcast, and because Julie absolutely, I mean, if any of you know anybody that looks like Austin, that's single, and also into women like myself, ring a bitch up. You can reach out to Rebecca Davis or myself. You can contact me on justjulie.com, and you can say, hey, I know. And look, if you're going to do it, like, I'm trying to find the camera. If you're going to do it, make sure he looks like Austin Kroll. Don't say, oh, my cousin looks just like Austin Kroll, and then you send a picture to Rebecca and I, and he looks like Danny DeVito. That's not going to work. Like, you may think your cousin is adorable and cute. I need them to look like this. So the rook looked like this. Austin looks like this. If you need to see more of Austin, I'm sure there are pictures online of him without his shirt, walking around in his boxers, all the way down to his feet. That's why I can't watch Southern Charm, because I think of the rook. Now, that said, we had a great show this week. Next week, my roommate Manny is supposed to be joining us on Rose All Day, Julie's a Mess, Optimistic in Orlando, to talk about dating in Orlando from a gay guy's point of view. He is now married, so he won't have tons of insight, but he's been dating in Orlando for a while before he got married, and so he will have tons of insight there. He's bi, so you can ask him straight questions, gay questions. More importantly, he will be talking to Rebecca about why he thinks I am still single, and he will be picking from Rebecca's picks next week. So it will be a totally blind experiment to see if two people picking for me are better than one person picking for me. I would like to thank everybody that joined us this week. I have to tell Rebecca, usually people only watch after the show has aired, and we get a lot of viewers after the show has aired. But tonight, we actually had 9 people in here, and they stayed the entire hour of the show. So thank you so much for joining us, for everybody that did. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for all the lovely comments. But
yes, please weigh in. Please keep weighing in. We love talking with you, not just at you. So please.
Right. And we love hearing your sides of stories too.
Yes.
For next week, the topic is, oh God, 2 of Julie's friends pick for her and talk about her, pick for her. She will be in the room. So be nice.
Need to watch just so you can get Julie's reactions about 2 people talking about her.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Because I don't get to see their pictures next week. I won't get to see them until after they've swiped right and said, yeah, pick that person. They will be exchanging pictures with each other. And I'm not going to let Manny be like, look at this person. Do you like them? It is literally going to be Rebecca saying, Manny, what do you think about this person? She will share the picture with him. He will approve. She'll swipe right. I will be off to the side, and I will get to say nothing. Nothing. I will introduce the show, and I'll introduce Manny, and I help with the conversation. But then I don't have a say. So thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful week. We love you all. Follow us on justjulie.com for more content. And hopefully we will be back on Spotify and Apple this week. Love you all. Have a great day.
For more content, follow justjulie.com. That's just Julie, JULEIGH.com. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for joining us this evening. Join us next week as Julie tries a different rosé.